Welcome, everyone. We are very honored to have Eduardo Castner with us. Eduardo is a Chief Technology and Innovation Officer leading the partner success team at Microsoft Corporation. His team is responsible to define the strategy and develop the programs to drive the technical capacity, technical practice development for the global partners, and influencing the hundreds of thousands Microsoft partners worldwide. Eduardo has built up 30 plus years of experience managing, architecting, and designing complex IT environment and connecting IT and business objectives in real life. He has led teams that actively help international corporations and governments with these challenges in a direct and no nonsense approach. I really like that no nonsense approach there. Combining structured framework with hard-earned experience, linking discussions with technical all the way to business value with the ability to link the Microsoft technology stack to the way it can land and provide value in an enterprise or government environment. He co-wrote and published the enterprise cloud strategy and designed to disrupt ebook as well. So phenomenal experience with Eduardo. Let me invite Eduardo and let's have an open and conversation with Eduardo to learn that what is his CTO journey has been in last 30 plus years. So welcome, Eduardo. Thank you so much for joining Saarathy and helping us to make our student successful.
Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm honored to be here.
Thank you so much. I think let's start probably with understanding in your opinion, what the CTO definition means. Like when we were talking originally, you said that it could be interpreted in a multiple ways.
Let me jump into it. The issue with the Chief Technology Officer role is that almost every company defines it differently, right? Some people define it as the leader of the development organization. Other companies define it as the leader of the development for innovation or new architecture, new services, new products. Other companies have it as just the technology leader or vice president or manager. In our case, in my role, it has been threefold. It has been one, define programs for our global partners to be able to adopt and innovate on the Microsoft platform. This obviously involves a lot of innovation because we have mutated into cloud on every single one of our platforms. So it has involved not only creating a roadmap and an on-ramp for them to adopt new technologies, but also how do they evolve their services and their offerings and solutions to the market. So it's a big tone of innovation. It's a big tone of technical depth. And the second part, as you know, participating in the team, it's a big part of activating and enabling our partners in their most complex customer scenarios and helping them architect them correctly, deploy them correctly, use best practices, leverage and publish best practices. So you could say that there's a note of innovation and on-ramp for new companies to build new practices. There's also a tone of pre-sales and technical architecture, and there's a tone of best practices for deployment, implementation, and support. And so that's what CTO means in my role. But again, for different companies, it can mean very different things.
It's very, very impressive, Eduardo. I really appreciate that you have dissected your CTO journey in a three-part, and it looks like there is a lot of technical nuances that you have to carry in order to be successful on this role. Could you please explain us your technical journey, how you have evolved your career from the and keeping up with all this variety of technology that's very much changing in a fast pace?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's going to sound like I'm going to tell you a little bit of my resume, but I would love to share with you a little bit of my journey so that you see how important and critical for me technical depth really means. I studied my career and I graduated as a computer engineer back in the early, well, late 80s, early 90s. And what I specialized on network protocol design for satellite communications. It was a field this size, super small. And it was incredibly deep. It was programming between assembly and C++, literally satellite networking protocols, right? And so I decided to go broader and deeper. And while that was my degree, I decided to go back to Mexico, where I'm originally from, and work for this incredible company that existed back then, which was called EBS. Some of you may remember it, some of you may not know what it is, but it's the original company that created IT outsourcing. And what this company had was a ton of contracts, 100 plus contracts of outsourcing with some of the largest companies in the country. Now, Mexico, most people may know or may not know, it's 120 million people and the seventh economy in the world. So even though some people may know it or not, it's not small. That's my point. Of course, it doesn't have the size of India. I respect that, or China, but it's not small either. And so with that said, it was a very interesting environment because as soon as I got in there, I started working on different projects. Some of them meant working with a company like Gatorade, which was one of my first projects, and working on building their distribution network follow-through and follow-up systems. Then I worked for a bank, helping them evolve and modernize from mainframe their core banking solution. Then I worked on automated systems for ATMs, then on credit card solutions. Then I moved to the airline industry, and I worked on modernizing Amadeus ticketing systems. And I can keep going and going. And because it was such a broad outsourcing company, and it had so many customers and so many different technologies, I was able to expand my thinking beyond just satellite network protocol design, right? And I was able to work on so many different projects to the point where I started building teams. This team started operating these critical operations and critical systems for different customers inside of the company. And eventually that led me to lead the whole, what was called back then, client server team of innovation, which ended up being a team of about 100 people that were all developers creating application modernization projects. In other words, modernizing applications for customers. Once that happened, we did so many of those that the company came back to me and said, would you like to be the CIO? Would you like to operate all of these tools and systems? So I ended up operating 128 outsourcings across 20 plus data centers on the whole country. And some of these were quite big, were all the operations for building cars, trucks, and motors for GM Americas, which most of the plants were in Mexico, to the point where I printed and managed the distribution of all the receipts for American Express worldwide. Some of these things were super, super interesting because it taught me different aspects of the following key word, which for me and my career has been always critical, which is social responsibility. In other words, none of the systems that I just told you matter a little bit, to the point where we manage the operations, all of the IT operations of the 2 airlines of the country. It's not the only 2 airlines that flew into the country, but it's the 2 Mexican airlines, right? And so imagine being responsible for the 2 airlines of the country and all airport operations for the country you live in, right? I mean, it's like, if that server goes down, nobody flies out anymore because that's the load balancing server and it gives authorization to take off. It was super interesting. It also teaches you that it's not just code. You're actually affecting people's lives. You're affecting people's income. You're affecting people's healthcare. We manage the 3 largest insurance companies of the country. With all that said, then I went to work for Dell because I was fascinated by the hardware industry and I never had participated on it. So I led the server storage and services business for them in Mexico and Central America for a couple of years. And then I came to Microsoft. And while being here, I've oscillated between sales, pre-sales, and now the partner ecosystem, all of them on technical roles. And your question was, what are the technical, well, I'll interpret it in my language if you allow me. What are the technical capabilities and technical values? I think that if you are not certified, if you don't keep yourself trained, if you don't keep yourself investing in your technical depth, you lose an edge. And you lose an edge of understanding the basic language in which you want others to operate with. So you keeping yourself technically sharp and keeping yourself technically curious will always pay off, because you will have the basic language to be able to transact with everybody else who's trying to deploy an application, operate an application, support an application, or modernize and create a new application, right? And a new service or a new solution. So for me, it has always been a key technical asset. It is something that I'm incredibly passionate. I've led for Microsoft some of the largest motions for partner skilling. In other words, we have an ecosystem of 300,000 companies who are partners of Microsoft, 150,000 of them, which are active and collaborating with us. And in the last couple of years, we trained about 3 million people. So it's no small motions, and I'm incredibly proud of that, because I believe that that is the way for people not only to grow their career, but to further their career development and their career progression, which means wellness for them as people, as persons, but also awareness for their family and for their growth, and impact the economies and the quality of life of the societies that they participate in. So for me, that's an incredibly important topic. I'm sorry I went from this to this, but you asked about a journey, and that was a very big journey for me.
Well, I think you still took a very small time to elaborate your 30 plus hours, years of journey. So it's not a long, it's basically still a short. We would definitely want to deep dive sometime and double clicking on that. But when we talk about, and actually you also covered not only the technical journey, but your journey from 80s all the way from Mexico to the USA. I think if I see that, Eduardo, one thing comes in my mind is that if you see the leadership maybe 20 years ago, 30 years ago versus the leadership attributes that is required for today, there might be some differences. Do you have some thoughts on that? What are the key?
Yeah, let me divide that question into three pieces. One is leadership for you as a person. The other one is leadership as in when you participate in a team, and you can be the leader of a team, but you can also be a personal leader to a project or a leader to an initiative. And the last one, which is leadership in this time of incredible stress and hardship that the pandemic has caused for the world. So on the first one, which is leadership for you as a person, I think that we all have to have basic core values that drive not only for you to be the best that you can be, but also for people to want to collaborate with you. And I'll say a couple which are very key and important for me. The first one is honesty and integrity. The second one is to bring your best, right? To truly bring your best and expect the best out of the people that you collaborate with. And the third one is to always be open for learning, to always be willing and humble to learn. But I want to add a fourth one, which is something that I learned a long time ago. When you are very eager to succeed, and you are very passionate about what you do, and you're almost obsessive about quality, and you're very technical, you end up being not such a nice person. You see, all of a sudden, all those qualities can make you obsessive, can make you unpleasing, can make you be hard to people or be harsh to people. And all of a sudden, you don't realize that you have become unsavory for other people to work with or to collaborate with. And so the last attribute that I'm going to add there is very important. Is somebody told me early in my career, is it a pleasure to work with you? If you would ask other people, if it's a pleasure to work with you, what would be the answer? And that one taught me a big lesson, because you can be hard, and you can be fast, and you can be aggressive, but it doesn't mean, in your goals, it doesn't mean that you have to be unsavory. It doesn't mean that you have to be displeasing or mean or nasty. You can still act like a lady or like a gentleman, you can still act with the utmost integrity and treat people with respect. And you can still treat people the way you want to be treated. And so that last one, I think, has made a tremendous amount of sense in my career. And for me, those leadership attributes, the ones that I just mentioned, are not tradable. I will not compromise them for any reason. And if I find myself compromising them, I will make a very hard turn in my career. Now, with that said, leadership attributes as a team, I would equate the same ones, but I will also add, you got to have appetite for growth. And in today's world, you have to be open for innovation. In other words, being fast, failing fast, learning fast, growing fast, and innovating is a key attribute. But I'll cover, because we're running a little bit out of time, let me cover the pandemic attributes. We only see this square out of people now. You see, this is all you see about me. And we could be working for 3 years together. In the last 2 years, all that you saw was this square, this screen. You don't know anything about me as a person. You don't know anything about me as my family. You don't know the stress that I could be going on. You don't know if I lost a family member, if I have a family member in the hospital. You don't know, you see my point. It becomes very artificial. Today, more than ever, having an understanding of mental health, having an understanding of empathy, understanding how to check in with each other, and understanding how to value each other is more important than ever. So if before these values were important as a leader, nowadays they're even more important, because we have had to all be away from each other. And this virtual distance that we have created has also separated us from understanding as humans that I don't see your tempo, I don't see your complexion, I don't see sometimes the human reaction, because through the camera, half of it is muted. And so I think it's very important to recognize that. There's a lot of other leadership attributes, right? Be brave, be bold. But I think the ones that I mentioned are the ones that I would keep for the conversation that we're driving.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing those attributes. And I think one important call out you made, it doesn't matter whether you are an IC, individual contributor, you are a CEO of the company, or you are just working as a student.
Well, you know what, let me interrupt you there. I'll tell you something that most people don't know about my career. I have chosen to be a manager and then have chosen 1 or 2 positions later to go back to being an individual contributor in my career twice already. And a lot of people say like, oh my God, wait, don't you need to go to become a manager and then, you know, a leader, a bigger manager, or you know, a general manager, a vice president, this and that? Not necessarily. You have to follow your passion. And you have to follow your compass, and your compass is going to lead you straight. It's not always going to be that you have to get the next big title to be more important. It's that you have to love what you do, and you have to be fully committed to what it delivers. I think that keeps you honest. When you end up doing a job, even if it has a great title or even a great pay, I've let go of better pay because I wanted to do something that I felt that was more aligned with my values or my interest at the time. And it made me a better person. So be very careful not to let money or position dictate your happiness. You have to have clarity about your happiness and follow that. Because you know what? In Spanish, we say, you don't fall asleep with anybody else but your own mind. So when you close your eyes, it's only you in there. And if you're not at peace with yourself, nothing is going to pay for that. No paycheck, no title, no nothing. You have to find your own peace.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Eduardo. These are enlightening advices that you have given towards our career, and cannot appreciate you enough through just the word. But
thank you so much.
We really thank you.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much once again from Saarathy, Eduardo, for taking your busy time and sharing these advices. I'm pretty sure it is super valuable to the community. I'm pretty sure we will reach out to you once again in next year to learn more about what's going on next in your career, for sure.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I wish to everybody as it is end of year right now for this recording, a wonderful holiday season, a peaceful holiday season, and a healthy holiday season to all of the people listening. Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.